Imagine two people. One has $10 in their bank account. The other has $10 million. Now here's the strange part. When something goes wrong, the millionaire usually pays less. And the poor person? They pay more. Much more. Their car breaks down. They can't afford the repair. So they miss work. Then they lose income. Now they're behind on rent. Then comes the late fee. Then another bill. Then debt. One small problem suddenly becomes 10 problems. But the millionaire? The repair gets paid immediately. No late fees. No stress. No debt. No financial damage. The rich person barely notices. The poor person may spend years recovering. This sounds unfair, because it is, and it happens everywhere. Poor people often pay higher interest rates, higher insurance premiums, more banking fees, more late fees, more stress, more time, more mental energy. In many ways, being poor is one of the most expensive things a human being can experience. Today we're going to uncover something that most people never realize. Why poverty doesn't simply mean having less money. It means paying more for almost everything. And once you see it, you'll never look at money the same way again. Why being poor is so expensive. Let's begin with a story. Imagine two men. One has $100. The other has only $20. Winter arrives. The rich man buys a pair of boots for $100. They're high quality. They last 10 years. The poor man cannot afford those boots. So he buys cheap boots for $20. After one winter, they fall apart. Next year he buys another pair, and another, and another. 10 years later, the rich man spent $100. The poor man spent $200. The person with less money paid twice as much. This idea is called the poverty premium, and it exists everywhere. Cheap shoes, cheap appliances, cheap furniture, cheap electronics. Poor families often buy the things they can afford today, not because they're better, but because they're the only option available. And unfortunately, cheap things often become expensive things. The interest trap. Now let's talk about debt, because debt is where poverty becomes extremely expensive. Imagine your refrigerator suddenly stops working. A wealthy family buys another refrigerator immediately. Problem solved. A poor family doesn't have enough savings, so they use credit, or a loan, or a payment plan. Suddenly, a $600 refrigerator becomes a $900 refrigerator. The product didn't change. The price did. And that's because borrowing money has a cost. Interest. Here's something fascinating. The people who need money the most usually pay the highest price to borrow it. Meanwhile, people who already have money often get the cheapest loans. Banks trust them more. Their credit scores are higher. Their financial history is stronger. The rich borrow cheaply. The poor borrow expensively. And this creates something incredibly dangerous. A cycle. Debt creates stress. Stress affects decisions. Poor decisions create more debt, and the cycle continues. The cost of not having an emergency fund. Life is unpredictable. Cars break, phones die, people get sick, jobs disappear, emergencies happen. The difference is, some people have savings, others don't. Imagine two people lose their jobs today. One has 6 months of expenses saved, the other has almost nothing. Who sleeps better tonight? Who makes better decisions? Who can search for the right opportunity instead of accepting the first job available? Savings don't simply buy security, they buy time, and time is one of the most valuable assets on earth. Poor people often have less money, which means less savings. Less savings means less time. Less time means more pressure. More pressure often leads to worse financial choices. Poverty isn't just expensive financially, it's expensive psychologically. The mental tax of being poor. Imagine your brain as a computer. Every problem uses processing power. Bills, debt, rent, food, unexpected expenses, financial uncertainty. All of these consume mental energy. Researchers have discovered something incredible. Financial stress can reduce cognitive performance. In simple words, constant money worries make it harder to think clearly. It becomes harder to plan, harder to focus, harder to make good decisions. This isn't because poor people are less intelligent. It's because their brains are dealing with constant emergencies. Poverty creates scarcity, and scarcity consumes attention. When survival becomes your primary focus, long-term planning becomes difficult. This hidden mental tax may be one of the most expensive consequences of poverty. Why the rich keep getting richer? Money has a strange property. It attracts more money. If you have savings, you can invest. If you invest, your money can grow. Eventually, your money starts working for you. Imagine earning money while sleeping. That sounds impossible, but that's exactly how investing works. Assets can generate income. Investments can compound. Over long periods of time, small amounts become large amounts. The wealthy benefit from this constantly. Their money creates more money. Meanwhile, people living paycheck to paycheck rarely have money left to invest. Their money works all day. They do too. But the money never gets a chance to grow. This creates one of the biggest gaps in society. The rich own assets. The poor often own obligations. One side receives money, the other sends money away. The time poverty trap. Money and time are deeply connected. People with money can often buy convenience, food delivery, reliable transportation, professional services, better healthcare, faster solutions. Poor people frequently cannot. They may spend hours waiting, hours commuting, hours solving problems that money could have solved quickly. The result? Less time, less energy, less opportunity. Poverty doesn't only take money, it often takes time, and time never comes back. Breaking the cycle. If poverty is expensive, is escape possible? Yes, but it's difficult, because escaping poverty often requires doing something incredibly hard, thinking long-term while facing short-term problems, building savings, learning financial skills, avoiding unnecessary debt, investing consistently, protecting your time, improving income. None of these things create overnight success, but together, they can slowly change financial direction. The goal isn't becoming rich overnight. The goal is reaching a point where one emergency doesn't destroy everything, because financial stability creates options, and options create freedom. Powerful ending. Perhaps the biggest lesson from all of this is this. Poverty is not simply the absence of money. It's the presence of constant financial penalties, higher costs, higher stress, higher risks, more difficult decisions. The poor often pay more, not because they make worse choices, but because they have fewer choices available. And maybe that's the most important thing to understand about money. Wealth doesn't just buy luxury, it buys options, it buys time, it buys resilience, and sometimes, it buys the ability to avoid paying the hidden price of being poor. Because in this world, having less money often means paying more. And once you understand that, you begin to see poverty differently, not as a personal failure, but as one of the most expensive situations a person can be trapped in. If you enjoyed this documentary, subscribe for more videos about money, psychology, and the hidden systems shaping our lives.